It's easy to identify anxiety and depression in low income, but there's definitely a growth even within high income households.
%87% of our students, their families, live below the poverty line. They may be coming from circumstances that create more barriers for their learning and to get their learning to mastery.
For my students that I work with, my biggest fear is incarceration. So students who were participating in legal activity or who had parents that were incarcerated, they tend to follow that path. I've had a student who had an older sibling, try to do much intervention with her, but she ended up being incarcerated. A year later, her younger brother was incarcerated as well, and their older siblings were also incarcerated and their father was incarcerated.
At Communities in Schools, we provide individualized support for students struggling with mental and behavioral health issues. About 40% of our students right now struggle with some behavioral or mental health challenge. And unfortunately, in too many communities, the conversation has been taboo. What we do know is that it's a conversation that needs to be had. 50% of all mental illness begins by the age of 14. It is really important that teachers, staff, and the community abroad be cognizant and be keenly aware of what those symptoms are. We offer youth mental health first aid training, and what that is essentially training teachers and staff to be aware and be cognizant of the symptoms of mental health and mental illness in our students. We offer site coordinators, which are on-campus individuals, professionals that are working with students every day.
My first assessment with a student, I was like, hey, give me a hug. And he was like, what? No, like, why would I give you a hug? That's weird. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I respect that. Shake your hand. 2 weeks after, we started building that relationship. That trust became very key. And I remember we were saying bye at the end of the day. And he went in to give me a hug. I just embraced the hug. Later on, he told me that, honestly, he never grew up with a father. He's never really received a hug in his life. In that moment, I told him, it's totally okay to be vulnerable.
I was really a kind of a problem child, I guess, so if I wouldn't have had an advocate to speak up for me and put me in the right classes, put me with other smart kids to kind of shape that path for me, I really don't know what would have happened.
85% of the students that we serve improve in academics, behavior, and attendance. And so for so many of our students that are students of color, and many that come from low-income communities, what we're giving them is an opportunity, a chance to be put on an even playing field. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The earlier that we begin having these conversations and training teachers, et cetera, the better off we're going to be long term.
Every person on this planet is having a rough time, and that if you can make it easier for anybody, you should, just because you never know what kind of impact that person will have on the next person that they meet.